The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. Welcome to Financial Rebellion on May 15th, 2025. Catherine Austin Fitz and Polly Tomey are neither available, but we have two guests today, Scott and Jill Kiley, and we're going to be talking about fluoride and what you can do to get fluoride removed from your water in the States. Welcome, Scott and Jill.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
And Lou, we have a Defender story just to call everyone's attention to. I think it was the 13th of May. FDA moves to get fluoride prescription drugs for kids off the market. And we can also mention why you would never want to get a fluoride prescription drug, particularly for your children. But welcome, guys. Why don't you introduce us? You're from Stand for Health Freedom, which is a national or international nonprofit organization, and you're a Florida Associate Director, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. We volunteer for Stand for Health Freedom, Associate Directors of Local Advocacy. Stand for Health Freedom is really all about health freedom issues. We have 5 pillars there: informed consent, parental rights, religious freedom, freedom of speech, and privacy are the pillars that are the foundation at Stand for Health Freedom.
And is there a Stand for Health Freedom in every state? Or if not, could someone contact Stand for Health Freedom and bring one into the state?
Stand for Health Freedom is in every state, and there are subscribers, and there are leaders, and there are partners, and it's just a great non-for-profit that really is making substantial change on a variety of legislative issues that impact both local, state, and national health freedom issues.
And is there a limit on lobbying because it's a nonprofit?
Yeah, the designation, of course, of the nonprofit will determine what you can and cannot do. And so that's important. Stand for Health Freedom, they will endorse candidates. They will petition utilizing their citizen members. And, we have been very successful. We'll share some of that success as it relates specifically to fluoride as well.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us how you got involved in this this effort that is successful in Florida?
No, it's successful, and we've had so much fun with it, Carolyn. We've had so much fun with it. First of all, we have truth. The truth is on our side, right? Fluoride has been like a lot of elements that we face. It's been information has been censored and suppressed for so long. But how we got started, Jill and I got very active in our county, Collier County, back in 2023. And what we did is we looked at all of the tyranny that we faced through the COVID years. We created a health freedom resolution, and we created a health freedom Bill of Rights ordinance that we passed with our Collier County commissioners. And in doing so, what we did is, for the first time really in our lives, because we've been busy working and raising a family and running a business and paying taxes, we got active in our civic duty and our civic duty responsibility. And the Health Freedom Resolution, it outlines and addresses all the tyranny we faced, like medical mandates and doctors being hunted for prescribing therapeutics, and the WHO, and vaccine passports, and discrimination based upon vaccine status. And it really kind of set our resolve for what we want to correct as we move forward. We also passed this Health Freedom Bill of Rights ordinance, which dealt with unlawful business closures, no due process, mask mandates, vaccine mandates. And it recognized in Florida our state statute, which is 381.026, which is the Patient Bill of Rights. It's a beautiful state statute that's really widely unknown. The big foundational element of that state statute is informed consent, right? So by law, codified in Florida, informed consent, it underlines a patient's right to have a risk-benefit analysis and the ability to opt out. So,
And are you aware of how many states might have this sort of thing?
good question.
Is Florida probably the only one or one of very few?
Certainly, Governor DeSantis has done a lot for us in regards to health freedom. And so it is an excellent question, and I don't have the answer to that. But
people might want to tell their legislators that they'd like to have a bill in their state like the one in Florida.
Absolutely. And everything we've done in Collier County, we've templated so that we can share it with other states, other counties, other cities, and they can duplicate our efforts, right? Because we want this to grow across the country. So what we did with regard to fluoride is we petitioned our county commissioners and said, hey, look, fluoride violates our own state and county statute, which requires informed consent. Fluoride is a forced medication in the water. You're violating our state statute and our local ordinance. They agreed 5-0. And we got fluoride removed in Collier County. And this was back in February of 2024. That's really how it all began. And, you know, Jill was instrumental in that. Jill, why don't you talk about the team that we developed and kind of how that partnership evolves with our local elected officials?
You know, so what we really try to do is we go in and we're not just standing there petitioning and stomping our feet and being rude. We really try to make relationships with our county officials and work as a team. And it was, you know, one of our commissioners that actually was trying to trim the budget in our county. And as he was going through, he realized, well, wait a minute here. We don't need fluoride for water quality. And so if we don't need fluoride for water quality, do we need it for our health? And he started doing a deep dive in it. And it was actually him he brought it up and then decided to get the citizens involved. We've developed a relationship with our county commissioners, city councilors in Collier County, that whenever they really need the public to back them up, they ask, which is different.
That's a great idea.
Fantastic, but that's the way our Constitution is supposed to work. You know, is they listen to and expect that the citizens are going to speak up. So
now, do you have volunteers that, like, you put out a bulletin and say there's going to be a hearing, you know, everybody come? Do you do that sort of thing?
Absolutely. And we have several groups that are very active here in Collier County, where we will, you know, send out a notice or an email and say, hey, this is going on, please come and speak up. And we've done that on many issues here in Collier County.
And Collier, what city? Is there a big city in Collier County? Naples, I see. Okay.
Naples, Marco Island. And Carolyn, you know, what we do, it's so important. Citizen involvement is so critical, right? In local advocacy, it's so critical. It really means everything. The local officials have to hear from the citizens. They have to be compelled with the evidence and the data. So you have to do your homework. You have to be well-read, but you also have to have citizen support. And citizen support includes, in Collier County and Naples, we have a cardiologist named Dr. George Yakos, who came and spoke several times to the Naples County City Council and to the Collier County commissioners, right? Cardiologists. We have local practitioners. We have dentists. We have doctors. The dentist, Josephine Perez, who came and spoke to help us remove. You know, here's a team. This is our Marvel superheroes team that work together, and there are others, right? But this is our team that worked together to remove fluoride in the city of Naples. And it was a contentious battle. The pro-fluoride folks came out and they threw everything at us that they had. Citizens that are uneducated sent in letters, and we have to combat that. We had dentists, we had attorneys, we had doctors, we had school board members, we had homeschooled moms. Jill, you were great at getting homeschooled moms to come in with their kids. And, you know, if you can have a 10 or 12-year-old kid who gets, please don't lower my IQ, right? I can get the toothpaste. You have a chance of connecting, I think a better chance of connecting with local elected officials. But, you know, there's you know, doctors in town, Dr. Richard Schroeder, Dr. Michael Viveris, to name a few, Dr. Pam Cunningham. These are health freedom warriors. And Jill and I were well connected. We know all the people, not only in Naples and Collier County, but these teams are developed in every city and county as we moved through the state of Florida.
So, is this primarily in the healthcare area functional doctors and dentists, or how do you find in your state, how do you find the people who are supportive of doing away with fluoride?
Good question. We because we associate with our tribe of people that believe that there are obviously harms that we're all dealing with, and there are better solutions to that. We naturally, I think, have gravitated toward one another. With Stand for Health Freedom, we've been able to send out calls to action in each area, and utilizing our primary subscribers. And so what we would do is we would send out a call to action, and ask for people that were interested in removing it in their locality. And we would look for a leader, and then naturally people would start joining, and and each one of them would then present to their local officials a speech. They would get up and talk about the issues that were going on with fluoride, and the risks, the benefits, the myths, and that's how we ended up getting a lot of it done.
Now, what's the role of the press in this? I'm assuming that your papers or what you get on the internet has all sorts of bad information. Do you actually do something with that, or do you get members of the press to write their own, go in and educate them and suggest an article that they write, or what?
The role of the press is as you would expect. In my mind, the role of the press is still very pro status quo. In this case, pro fluoride. It's changing. The MAHA movement is gaining traction, thankfully. It's changing. And so what's important is that we use alternative media, right? Ann Vandersteel was instrumental in helping us. There was a picture, Lou, that you just pulled up. If you could pull that picture up of the folks on stage. This is so this is following the passage of the Sanctuary County Bill of Rights ordinance. We made Collier County a sanctuary for the Bill of Rights. And if we think about all the tyranny that we faced during the COVID period, right? How important is it to make that stand and proclaim we are a sanctuary for the Bill of Rights? And what you had there on stage, you had Ann Vandersteel doing her show from Collier County. And we had Collier County commissioners that we built this trusting relationship with come and share why this was important. Our sheriff is on the stage, 3 commissioners to the left, and attorneys, civil rights attorney, constitutional attorney, Christina Heuser, who works now for Liberty Counsel. And so, the press, you asked about the press, alternative media, social media promoting what we do. Very important.
Great. Well, why don't we get to the meat of the matter, the content? Where do we start on? My familiarity is from the defender because there's a lawsuit. Is it Connett, the attorney and I think he is actually working for Children's Health Defense, and he sued. I'm not sure who the plaintiff was. Was it Children's Health Defense? Sued the EPA, and what exactly was it that in the EPA that he was suing over?
Yeah, this is excellent. Well, and as a lead into this, I think it would be really helpful just to talk a little bit about that specific subject matter. Yes, let's get right into that subject matter. So Michael Connett, the attorney, won a lawsuit against the EPA. It was a 7-year court battle, and federal judge Edward Chen was the California judge. And what's important to note is that in the 7-year time period, the government brought in all of their experts. They weighed all of the evidence available. We've been fluoridating water now for 75 years. Whatever you have to support that it's safe and effective was brought to the table, because they were asking the EPA to rule. I think it's TSCA. There's a TSCA rule in which the EPA can rule and provide an opinion on whether there needs to be, limitations on fluoride as a chemical in the water, if I'm getting that correctly. I wish Michael were here, he would nail it. But at the end of the day, Michael Connett, he won. The judge ruled in favor, and the ruling was that fluoride in the water posed unreasonable risks to children and vulnerable populations. And yes, this is Michael Connett. And the judge ordered the EPA to act to remove the risk, And so this was a huge milestone, September 24th of 2024. And it really provided momentum in our movement. Now understand, we had removed fluoride already in February of 2024. So we had a bit of a jump start. But with this ruling, September 24th of 2024 by Judge Chen, this was heaven sent. And with Dr. Latipo's Department of Health memo that came out, I believe that was November 22nd of 2024, right? Stating that, it poses unreasonable risk to vulnerable populations. Dr. Latipo has been an incredible hero in this.
He's the Surgeon General of Florida.
That is correct, the Surgeon General. And so with those two bits of ammunition, so to speak, the federal judge ruling and Latipo's guidance letter, we really took off in Florida. And there's a map, a blue dot map there that shows the state of Florida. There it is, Florida, fluoride free. And Jill, there's a hero that maybe you can talk about, Justin Harvey, and as it relates to this and our effort. You want to talk about Justin a little bit?
Right. Justin Harvey joined us in this. We're in southern Florida, and Justin is up closer to Orlando, and he had been working on a variety of health freedom issues in his area. And so very soon after Scott and I were working here in southern Florida, he jumped on board again. I think he had petitioned his area years ago about getting rid of the fluoride. And he started taking off then, working his, the midsection of Florida, Central Florida, and going around and speaking as well. So Justin is fantastic. He got a lot accomplished. And, personally was going county by county, city by city, and leading the fight in Central Florida. So Justin is a true hero, and we've worked closely with him. And so, yeah.
Yeah, Justin is amazing. Lou, there's a picture of the team in Bartow that if you could pull up. And what's so critical about local advocacy,
There you go.
that's the one. It's all about the citizens. It's all about the team we assemble. And, again, Marvel superheroes, man, this is a team. Justin is second from the left. We've got Mayor Trish Pfeiffer. She's got the long skirt on in the front row. The guy in the very center is Griffin Cole. Griffin is a doctor. He was the president of IAOMT. And IAOMT is the International Academy of Oral and Medical Toxicology. This is an international organization that represents the 95% of the world population that does not fluoridate their water. Okay, that's an important statistic to know. 95% of the world does not fluoridate their water. Their teeth are not falling out of their head. Why don't they do it? They don't do it because they don't fluoridate because it's unethical and it's a known neurotoxin. Case closed.
Now, just to be clear, EPA does not require fluoridation of water, right? It only limits, it establishes a level above which it's supposedly toxic, which I think you would take issue with, or did take issue with. But so the lawsuit was over the recommendations of EPA to change those?
Correct. The level that is deemed safe in the United States is 0.7 parts per million. And so that was the focus, and that was the ultimate ruling by the judge. There are known harms at levels far too close to 0.7 parts per million. And because of that, the EPA was ordered to remove the risk.
Okay, and now you have told me that there is a certain amount of fluoride naturally in our water, depending upon, with different levels in different places, right? So we already have some fluoride in the water.
We do. It's naturally occurring. And it's important to note the difference between naturally occurring fluoride and what they put in the water. What they put in the water is fluorosilicic acid or hydrofluorosilicic acid. It is a byproduct of the fertilizer industry, primarily. It is unregulated by the FDA, and it's known to contain contaminants that are just, they're not monitored. Contaminants that you do not want to ingest. Mercury, lead, to name a few. And they retrieve, they capture this fluorosilicic acid from the smokestack of an industrial manufacturing process, okay, namely fertilizer. They bottle that up in big containers. They carefully ship it to the municipalities who buy it, believe it or not.
But they pay money for a byproduct that the manufacturers want to get rid of.
They pay for the poison, and then they drip it into our water. And they claim it's safe, and they claim that it is the savior, right? The CDC claims that fluoride is a top 10 public health achievement.
And that's
right?
that's today. Today on the website for the CDC, they claim that's one of the 10 greatest public health achievements of the 20th century.
Yes, and God bless RFK Jr., who's trying, and he has verbally stated he is going to try to get the CDC to remove that promotion because it is simply not true. Okay, it's not true. So yeah, this is we're getting a lot of context here. Going back to the team, right? That team of people. Really the map. So we've got Justin Harvey is just doing a tremendous job. We've got people across the state, right? We know who the leaders are in the health freedom movements. We call on these people. We build teams in every county. On Stand for Health Freedom, we give tools. We template everything that we do. We give people tools. So
Some of which are linked in our notes.
Yeah, that's correct. Water should hydrate, not medicate. There it is. Jill, you want to walk us through this?
Sure. So, as we got started, we realized there was so much to educate people about. And we had kind of gone through the motions in several of our counties or cities, and we just started saving our information and putting together what we like to call our toolbox for success. And so we share templates here for different emails that you could send to your county commissioner, city councilor, and so forth. We go through different strategies. We pull up from other websites like the IAOMT, much of their educational documents here. And so we're essentially giving a rinse and repeat way for people to get together their own citizens and open up this discussion in their community.
Okay, let's go to that map. Explain the map.
Okay.
Lou?
You want to go?
Lou, can you put that up again? And yeah, there you go. Explain what this map is telling us.
So the map here shows us the two states in green here are where we have they have been banned fluoridation at the state level. So there's only two right now. However,
In Florida, right?
Florida, yeah.
And Utah.
And Utah. And so what we're doing is hoping that this is going to take off. We do know that there are several states where they are actually talking about this in their legislation right now.
Do you know of which one? Can you give any examples, or are you familiar with that?
Texas, I believe, is one. I think Pennsylvania is another.
Cool.
And then there's lots of local action going on, but the goal here, Carolyn, is that we had such great success. First of all, Utah banned it statewide. Florida, there's been huge momentum in cities and counties. And now Governor DeSantis is poised to sign the Farm Bill that's going to end fluoride in Florida. And so we launched at Stand for Health Freedom, we launched a national campaign, again, providing this toolkit to advocates. And we want to strike while the iron is hot. We want to build citizen advocacy as it relates to health freedom. We want to use fluoride as a stepping stone, not only to end water fluoridation, but to deal with all of the challenges that the HHS and that RFK Jr. and the MAHA movement has to deal with. We want to build that support, just like we did in the city of Naples. We built support so that our city councilors had what they needed to make that tough decision. They had what they needed. They had citizen support. They had the data. We want to do that in every city, every county, every state, not only for fluoride, but for, say, let's end medical mandates.
This is a good time for me to introduce our term of the day, I think.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Lou, do you have that? Bodily sovereignty. Explain how that relates to what Stand for Health Freedom is doing.
Sure.
Absolutely. I think that this is the word of the day. This is the word of every day, right? And that should be, we should all have a choice of what we put in our own body. No one should be mandating any drugs, vaccines, anything for us as we the people. We should be the ones who decide. We know how these drugs affect each one of us individually, our children, and no one should be mandating. And I think I will bring up that although we went through many of the harms of fluoride, at the end of the day, it was the bodily sovereignty. It was the sovereignty itself that the state finally said, we can't mandate this for people. You know, we just can't do this.
So it's a legal issue.
It is a legal issue, you know, and that's what took off. So we had pro-fluoride people that came and you know, and made all the claims about how wonderful fluoride is for your teeth and how you needed to drink it and take it systemically and so on and so forth. But what I believe changed the discussion was when people said, yeah, well, you know, this gives me a rash on my skin, or it's giving me acne, or it's ruining my gut by drinking this. And said, you know, you can't make me take this against my will. And that became the bigger discussion. And by far, as we went county by county, pointing this out to our legislators, they realized, no, we can't force this on the general public.
Right.
Go ahead.
Elected officials are not medical doctors. They don't have a medical license. It is a medication. It is being given without informed consent. And bodily sovereignty is really underscored by informed consent. And if you're putting a medication in the water and you're giving it to everyone, and there's no information, there's no risk-benefit analysis, and there's no ability to opt out, it is unethical. We had cardiologist Dr. George Yakos say a leading cause of death in the United States is cardiovascular disease, right? So with the logic behind fluoride, maybe we should put statins in the water. I don't want to give any ideas, but maybe we should put statins in the water. Maybe we should put a little Ozempic in the water for all of the, you know, obesity that we're dealing with, some antidepressants. Let's put it all in the water. We're going to fix everything all at once. We'll give it to everybody. Of course,
It's just crossing the line. That's just crossing a big line.
Why don't we talk about what the claimed benefits of fluoride in the water are, how that, I assume, is not true, and then we could go into some clips.
Sure.
Sure.
So they like to claim that drinking the water bathes your teeth all day, all night long with the fluoride. And the fluoride in and of itself makes your teeth stronger so that you will not get cavities. That's just ridiculous. I mean, how long is that in your mouth? You drink it, you know? So the systemic issues involved, I mentioned gut problems, and so forth.
Aren't there some bone problems too?
There are bone problems, you know, thyroid issues, and the mental health issues, ADD, ADHD, and the lowering of children's IQ. And
right.
so
Fluorosis is the bone issue, skeletal fluorosis.
Yes.
And funny, Carolyn, you know, you got to laugh at some of this stuff. You know, some of the cities and counties, people would come up to the podium and they'd come up with walkers, could barely get to the podium, right? And they're obviously dealing with something terrible, right? They're dealing with arthritis or whatever their issue is, and they would be pro-fluoride, okay? Hobble. That's not funny. I shouldn't say that. Unfortunately, they would make their way up in a very strained manner and proclaim all fluoride's benefits, not realizing that, you know, fluoride is stored in the body. You don't get most of it, you don't get rid of. And over time, it accumulates. And we're getting it from so many different sources. We're absorbing it through the skin. It's in food, it's in cosmetics, it's in so many dental products. So there's an overdosing, right? Depending upon your body weight and your size and your water consumption, there's an overdosage situation. And over time, it builds up. There are no studies to support its safety. And so you have issues of lowering IQ and skeletal fluorosis, among others, that we develop over time. Now, what's interesting here is that Michael Connett, in his expertise as an attorney, he was able, through cross-examination, to get some amazing deposition testimony that really clarify, in my mind, stick a fork in it kind of certainty that fluoride should end. And maybe we can show a couple of these videos because they're compelling with regard to, what we know, what we don't know, and the level of censorship that exists around fluoride. So there's a gentleman, and his name is Casey Hannon. He is the director of oral safety, director of oral something. He's the man. And
At CDC?
At the CDC, and he was deposed. Lou, can you have those clips available to show?
Is the CDC aware of any evidence demonstrating benefits from consumption of fluoridated drinking water during the first 6 months of life?
We are not aware of any evidence.
Okay.
Okay, so what's important about this clip? Obviously, they have no evidence of benefit in the first 6 months of life, but we are going to force it on the public. New mothers with newborn babies that have developing blood-brain barriers and developing brains that are drinking fluoridated water, and there's no benefit, and it's a neurotoxin with known correlation to lowering IQ, it's unacceptable. And now we know the CDC has no evidence of any benefit in the first 6 months of life. Let's see the next one, please, Lou.
So if a pregnant mother wrote an email to CDC asking, if I drink fluoridated water during my pregnancy, will that provide a benefit to the teeth of my baby? CDC would not answer yes to that question, correct?
If we were to get an email as such, we would summarize our understanding of the evidence in saying we have not found evidence that supports benefit, that shows benefit to the child if ingested, if community water fluoridation or some other form of fluoride is ingested by the mother.
Wow. Jill, what do you think?
It's crazy because this is a drug that is not dosed based upon body weight, size, so a child essentially could get the same amount of fluoride as a 300-pound man. When you look at infants, their primary sustenance, if it's not from breastfeeding, is from bottle feeding. And so they are using water to make this formula. In addition to that, and many people go out and buy the nursery water, which also has fluoride in it. So they're getting bumped. These small little brains that don't have a blood-brain barrier are getting bombarded with fluoride.
That's an interesting question. The bottled water you buy, do some of those have fluoride in them, and how would you know? Is it required?
They absolutely do, and there definitely I saw there are websites out there that will show you what bottled water carries fluoride and what does not. But the nursery water, it says fluoride enhanced.
Fluoride enhanced, and they market it as a benefit. Now, I will tell you, I believe there's a lawsuit that is, and I also believe Robert Kennedy Jr. is trying to get these products removed because it's a travesty. Again, blood-brain barrier not developed, brain still developing, right? Lowers IQ. Come on, it's a neurotoxin. This is a we said no-brainer, right? It is a no-brainer, literally. Let's play the next one if you would, Lou. I think we have 4 in total.
CDC does not contend that fluoride exposure during the in utero period is the right time for providing fluoride for an anti-caries effect, correct?
Same objection.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we don't promote fluoride use for in utero benefits.
Okay.
So there it is. They don't promote it for in utero benefit. They don't promote it in the first 6 months of life. How can any municipality force this on their citizens? Are they informing pregnant mothers and mothers of newborn children? Are they informing them with a bulletin that says, hey, citizens of our great city, be aware, if you are pregnant, if you have a newborn, do not drink our water. Do not drink our water. The CDC does not recommend you drink it. Of course not. Of course not. One more absolute bit of knowledge and evidence. And again, the CDC doesn't come clean unless they're deposed under oath. And that's what we have here.
Which is one of the benefits of having a lawsuit. I mean, even if you lose a lawsuit, the best way in any area like this where there's a big cover up is that you have discovery in a lawsuit and you can get information that might not even be acceptable in court, but you can put it out on the internet, and inform people. So, it's important to win the cases, but one of the great benefits, and we've found this in the whole health freedom area, we found out all sorts of things about the mRNA and the Department of Defense role in the whole supposed pandemic. We found that out from a federal lawsuit, the discovery in the federal lawsuit.
Yeah. I think we have one more, Lou.
The CDC's conclusion in 2001 is that they had good evidence, high quality evidence to show that fluoride supplements do not provide a benefit for children when given during pregnancy, correct?
Yeah, when given to pregnant women.
Okay.
Jillers, what do you think?
There's just hordes of evidence out there, and in our one of the things about our toolkit that's available to everyone now is we have clips like this. We have clips from our Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, speaking out in public. We have Ashley Malin, who went through a variety of different studies. So what we've tried to provide the people with here is you may not hear about it if you're not looking for it. Your community might not be speaking out on your community website. There might not be a warning for children and infants and pregnant mothers, which, really there should be. But if there's not, we are providing the evidence that they need, the information that they need in order to go to their communities and speak out.
Yeah, Dr. Ashley Malin is a professor at the University of Florida, and she so graciously volunteered her time. She did a study that was utilized in the federal judge ruling against the EPA. Incredibly smart and articulate and compelling in her evidence that she brings to the localities. And again, like Jill says, these videos are available and can be used by folks around the country to do what they need to do in their communities. And, I think, Carolyn, if we can, I think this is a good time to transition to Miami, because we'd really like to talk about Miami and what went down in Miami and why that's so important as the largest urban area in the state of Florida. And what an amazing story in Florida. So Jill, you were instrumental in kind of getting that kicked off. Can you talk to us about how that unfolded?
Yeah, that was fun. I happened to see our commissioner, the commissioner in Miami-Dade, make a post online that he had spoken with our Surgeon General, and he was going to be going back to Miami-Dade in order to make sure that he started the discussion on the removal of fluoride.
Right, and this is Roberto Gonzalez, if I can interject that.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we had been watching Dr. Latipo and Dr. Malin going to different communities in order to have that discussion for commissioner meetings and city council meetings. And one of the things that we, as we were watching, was that if you didn't have community support and a commissioner, let's say, just brought it up on his own, the people weren't educated. The rest of the commission was not educated. And so I very quickly got on the phone and said, please let us help you. Let us help you build your team so that you do have that community support going into these discussions at your water department. And so we did that. And we were able to bring, I brought a group of homeschool moms that brought their kids. They walked in like 8 to 10 kids that they were homeschooling for the day. They were working on public speech, even down to a little 4-year-old that came in and was able to get up to the microphone and say, fluoride is not good for me, you know? This was fantastic. So they worked it into a whole program that they had with these homeschool kids, where they were learning about their civic duty. They were learning how to speak in public. They wrote their own speeches and so on and so forth. And it was phenomenal. We had, again, we brought in dentists, doctors, and community members in order to speak and let their voice be heard. This was all very, very important. But for me, the biggest part was that we were giving our legislators the backbone
And the ammunition.
and the backup, because we were saying, yes, we're supporting you, and they were supporting us. It's the perfect plan.
It's the perfect plan. And Lou, there's a picture there, Dr. Latipo in Miami. If you could bring that picture up, this really underscores, the citizen component. This is Dr. Latipo and Jill and an amazing team in Lee County. We got a 5-0 vote here. And then there's one that's Dr. Latipo in Miami. It's got a bunch of kids and homeschooled moms in it. Just a beautiful picture. I don't know if you see that one. Do you have the Miami team photo? Okay, this is a great picture. This is Leah Kuykendall. She's a director at Stand for Health Freedom. Leah is so instrumental in putting out, in doing so many things on so many health freedom initiatives. As it related to fluoride, we would put together calls to action. The calls to action would be county or city focused. They would go out to all the subscribers. It was a petition that would be emailed to the local elected officials. And people could add their own comments to a template. So it's personal. And then, when you need community support, as Jill said, you get, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 emails flooding local officials' inbox, letting them know that they have community support and where the community stands. We do this with calls to action at Stand for Health Freedom. In that photo, again, if you can pull that photo up. And then we have next to Bailey, we have Leah Wilson. She's the CEO of Stand for Health Freedom. And again, they're doing just such amazing work on issues of informed consent and parental rights and religious freedom and freedom of speech and privacy. And so the team is so important. Do you have the Miami team photo? I'm going to throw it in the chat maybe. Yeah, this is really an important one. This is just absolutely fantastic. The battle in Miami was tough. The battle in Miami was tough. Oh my gosh. It's the largest urban area in the state of Florida. And, you know, the argument is that fluoride is needed for low-income communities. Fluoride is not needed for low-income communities. Fluoride is a detriment to low-income communities. Low-income communities want to develop their cognitive intelligence, their IQ, so that they can rise above their economic status and they can climb the ladder and contribute to society. If you're lowering their IQ, how is that helping low-income?
Well, and we talked about this earlier. People in the low income communities are the least able to afford the filters to get the water, the fluoride out of their water. It's expensive. We were talking about a Berkey or a reverse osmosis system in your house, and you're bathing in it too. So then you need a filter for your shower. And if you're in a bathtub, too bad, you're going to be, you know, it's going to be all over you.
Or purchasing bottled water, you know,
Right.
that can get expensive.
Right, right. And as I understand it, there's such a thing as a prescription pill for fluoride, and that they're giving that out. Some of the health agencies are actually giving that out, and they're not taking that to the private schools.
No.
They're taking that to the low income schools that have nurses and are providing health services, I assume.
Right. And you know, they're going to take that out as well. I mean, one of the arguments that we kept bumping up against was, well, you know, we're going to have all these children that whose teeth are going to be rotting out of their heads, that are going to get cavities, and you better get ready because, you know, we're going to need more dentists. Well, that isn't what the studies show. The evidence shows that dental caries and dental disease has gone down over time. There still may be a benefit.
But the benefit
fluoride,
would
but
be
it's
in
not systemic.
the benefit would be in a topical
Correct.
application. I had that done when I was a little kid, so that was 50 years ago.
Right,
60 years ago.
right.
Lou, I emailed you that picture from Miami. It's also in the chat. Do you see that perhaps?
He's got that up on one of the screens.
There it is. There it is. So Miami was tough. In the center of the picture, you have Commissioner Roberto Gonzalez, an absolute rock star for health freedom, brought this initiative forward, stood firm, pulled out all the stops to make it happen. I mean, just an amazing leader. This man is definitely going places. You've got Dr. Maya Asi on, as we're looking at it, on the right side of Commissioner Gonzalez. You've got Josh Jemmy to the right of Dr. Maya Asi. You've got Jeb Handwerger. You've got Bruce Stanley. You've got Justin Harvey. Got Marla Maples in this photograph, a gal by the name of Michelle. And unfortunately, I'm not sure who's on the far left. I think her name might be Brenda, but I'm not sure. But so many more people involved in the victory in Miami, and so critical to the success anywhere. You know, you've got to develop your tribe, as Jill has said.
It was fun. Miami was a lot of fun because they were very upset that they were being felt taken advantage of by the local government. And you know, we just kept saying, you got to keep pushing back. You got to just stick with it. You keep working it, you know, get to know your county commissioners, get to know the people there, and speak up, get more people in to speak. And, you know, what I saw develop was people that felt very timid about speaking up in the very beginning to establishing these true warriors in an area that took charge. And they did that by getting online and utilizing their X account or their Facebook account. They spoke out in their community. They got, so they developed these relationships in their community as well as on alternative media.
Can I suggest as a marketing as a strategy that perhaps some of the people that this is a relatively safe issue in terms of health freedom because it's getting a lot of press, and we've got gathering all of the testimony, the discovery, the clips, everything you've seen. It seems to me that people who are trying to go somewhere politically within a community could take on this as their issue and get press and get support from the community. It could be what I'm saying is it could be a vehicle for a career for people who are in the health area, for example. You think
Correct.
that's true?
It's safe, it's easy, it's a stepping stone to bigger initiatives. You were down to 2.5 minutes.
Yes.
There's a superhero that I'd love to show. Lou, if you could pull up the action figure of Dr. Joseph Ladapo. So creatively, one of the health freedom warriors, Josh Jemme in Florida, he created these action figures, and Ladapo was so instrumental in educating communities around the states, not only on fluoride, but on so many health issues. So, hats off to Dr. Ladapo, just amazing. And then, with Stand for Health Freedom, we are launching a national campaign. We have launched a national campaign. We're here to help. The tools are there in the toolkit, and our emails are there. If anyone wants to call us, we're glad to help. We're glad to consult, and we're glad to, give advice. There's so many smart, driven, motivated people. We've got the MAHA movement unfolding. Now is the time to rise up. Fluoride is, civics 101. It allows people to, cut their teeth, so to speak, in, performing their civic duty.
Yeah,
And
this is an easy issue to start with in getting really involved.
correct. It's an easier win. Okay, not easy, but
And it's a simpler story too.
Correct.
It is,
Yeah.
but it also opens people's eyes to everything else.
Yeah, if they've been lying to us about this, what else have they been lying to us
Yeah,
about?
if they, wait a minute here, if they've been lying about, fluoride all along, then what else have they lied to us about? What else do we need to push back on? So that was our hope.
And just one last thing, the orange states on that map, which people can find in the toolkit, those are states in which at state law, they have to fluoridate the water. So in those states, there needs to be action in talking to state legislators to rescind the law that requires the fluoridation. So you're talking about local action and state level action.
Correct. There are many states, though, even if there is a state ordinance or a state requirement to fluoridate, that a locality can choose to opt out if they do a vote.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time. We could talk for hours on this, but this has been really revelatory to me, even though I knew a fair amount about how bad fluoride was. But thank you so much for joining us. And I would like to encourage our listeners to get involved. Look at the toolkit. Start on this issue if you haven't gotten involved in the health freedom movement on a direct basis.
Yeah, we really make change whenever we stand up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so we're live. Can you tell us your name, please?
My name is Theodora Cohen.
And this is a story about your tenant.
My tenant, a young couple, and they lost their baby in 2016, The baby's name was Brian Morales. He wasn't even a year old. And they lived in the back of my house in a cottage. And one day I saw all these officers and police cars going up my driveway. And I ran back there with them. And little Brian, who had already passed away in his sleep while taking a nap in the back cottage, they had him out on the grass trying to do CPR on him. But he was white as a ghost, and I knew he was gone. And with that, they took him away. And I had to call the dad who was working, a young couple. And it was really heartbreaking. They had a little daughter. This was her younger brother. Okay, with that, I was involved with the opioid crisis with the recovery center out here on Long Island, and I got to know the coroner who did the ugly truth for the opioid crisis at all the schools, and I knew him. And I had asked the dad, was this baby at the doctor's before he died? And he was. And he got me the doctor's report of all the vaccines that this little Brian had before a year old. He had 4 vaccines that week, including an MMR. You can see the circled ones are the 4 vaccines he just had that week.
Can you read those out?
And they were
The ones that he had that week?
He had hepatitis A, he had P influenza, he had PF quad, he had the MMR, and he also had the Verifax, the varicella, the P varicella vaccine. And when I looked at the whole list, remember, he wasn't even a year old. He had 16 vaccines before he was a year old. The mom was saying how tired he would always be, and this time he fell asleep in the nap and he never woke up. They're considering it. I called the coroner in Suffolk County, Michael Kaplan, and we discussed the case, and I told him that I felt this was a vaccine death. And he says, well, they gave the vaccines according to the schedule. And I said, no, we have to take this further. And it sent us to the New York University Hospital for the parents to have a discussion with them, and they got nowhere with it. They didn't even want to hear the word vaccines. And so, to my knowledge, this little baby died as a result.
And do you have permission from them to tell the story?
Pardon me?
Do you have permission from the parents to tell this story?
Not yet.
Okay, we are live right now, so that might be an issue. But it is tragic, and you see the babies here.
I'm here. I am here because not long after that, there was another baby up not far from us that was in the newspapers that they considered another SIDS case. Toddler's sudden death leaves family searching for answers. That was in 2018 in the same town.
Let's have a look at that.
Out east, Riverhead, and
yeah, another one.
and so there's an organization too. I don't know. You might want to take a look at this. SUDCRCC. It's the sudden infant deaths, and they don't know why. And the sudden infant deaths. That's what they title it now. Nobody's really looking into the vaccine issue. Haven't been for a while. Maybe they are now, but I will tell the parents that I was here, and they would like some closure, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Young couple.
terrible. How long ago did that happen?
2016.
2016, yeah.
Mid-October 2016, and he got the shots on here October 4th, 2016.
Is there anything else you want to tell the people?
This is not new. I was in Hippocrates Health Institute in the 90s with Brian Clemens, and someone came down when Lenny Horace was speaking. A woman came down, her baby died the next day as a result of vaccines. This goes all the way back to the 90s that I know of. That's why I was able to identify this. And I've been keeping up with Children's Health Defense, High Wire, and I watch you speak. And it has to get out there. They're just covering this up with sudden infant deaths, syndromes, and but it's even bigger than that. It's bigger. The pharmaceutical companies are have some kind of plan going on to.
Well, thank you for
Fill
telling
babies.
us about your tenant's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, that they understand. Now, are they still your tenants or have they moved?
What's that?
Have they moved or are they still your tenants?
They moved. Not only did they move, but they ended up splitting up, which I hear happens a lot for families that lose their children. They ended up. So I'm in touch with the dad still, and I'm going to let him know.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait for that permission. But thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
pledged to find out what is driving the country's rise in autism.
Compiling medical records from a number of databases. He'll direct resources to study environmental factors, exposures, and external factors.
Scientific progress on this has been slow because scientists are frankly scared to ask the question.
Genes don't cause epidemics. You need an environmental toxin, and we're going to look at all the potential culprits.
With no a priori thumb on the scale, you can't look at that.
Yeah. I'm very grateful to the Secretary for finally saying from an important public platform that this is an epidemic and we need to find the causes and we need to stop it.
Other issues CHC has been pushing for years are finally gaining mainstream traction.
Today we're announcing we are removing industry members, pharma members from FDA advisory committees.
We're seeing reports that you're considering removing the COVID vaccine as a mandatory shot for children.
The recommendation for children was always dubious. The vaccine itself does have profound risk of myocarditis, pericarditis, even strokes.
Very, 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 very few people are still taking these things. In that sense, the mRNA vaccines for COVID in the marketplace are effectively dead.
We are working together to change the federal fluoride recommendations, and we're looking at the science now. There's a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure and low IQ in children.
Health officials announced plans to phase out 8 artificial dyes from our food supply.
The FDA is effectively removing all petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply.
We don't have a surveillance system that actually works, and that is a crime. And we will do that right away. And I understand the perverse incentives that need to be changed right away.
When there's a political will to answer a question like this, it will happen.
We're going to change things for real this time.